So in honor of Razor and his love for all things ball games, I'd like to explain the rules of one of his favorites, volleyball. To start off with, you essentially have 3 basic moves: dig, set, and subscribe to this channel for regular Hunter x Hunter content uploaded straight into your YouTube feed. Now with this knowledge, go forth and crush your enemies. In volleyball, that is. Not literally. I was a death row convict too. I killed many people, but Jing hired me and brought me here. He taught me that if just one person in the whole world believes in you, then even you can be redeemed. Hello and welcome to Hunter x Hunter 101, the series that breaks down everyone and everything in the Hunter x Hunter world. And today, we are going to explore the powerhouse game master of Greed Island, Razor. Razor is a tall, very well-built man, generally observed in what I would call as gym teacher chic, who was first introduced during the Greed Island arc. He is portrayed as an ever delightful and incredibly laid-back person, however he also comes equipped with an unquestionably ruthless and competitive nature, with a particular penchant for the game of dodgeball. And a lot of those secondary characteristics, bar the dodgeball obsession, more than likely spawned from Razor's childhood, as he was often physically and verbally abused by his father, calling him things like slowpoke, good for nothing, loser, idiot, etc. You get the general gist. However, this caused Razor to develop an aggressive inferiority complex, which led him to adopting a life of crime, along with a very, very angry persona. And eventually, Razor grew so violent that he committed numerous murders. However, he would come to be apprehended by a familiar hunter by the name of Jing Freaks. For his crimes, Razor was sentenced to death. However, Jing, unlike anybody in Razor's life thus far, saw a fair bit of potential in him and decided to hire Razor as part of his Greed Island project. And this would be a turning point in the life of Razor, as up until now, he had only been bombarded with negative reinforcement. However, despite the fact that he was a convicted criminal, Jing Freaks treated Razor with respect, as if they were societal equals. And not only that, but Jing also expressed something far more important to Razor, which was an innate belief in his abilities. And this new feeling took root in Razor, coming to transform him into the friendly, easygoing chap that we know him as best in the series. Rather interestingly, it should probably be noted that Jing treated Razor with far more of a fatherly hand than he did with his very own son Gon. So lucky Razor, I guess. However, Jing would also go on to give Razor a massive job by becoming one of the game masters of Greed Island. And just a bit of background on that, Greed Island was a faux video game developed by Jing and an array of associates, whereby those who engaged in said game are transported to a small independent island just east of the Orbian continent. And Razor's main role in the creation and maintenance of the game was to ensure the integrity of its emissive systems, which function in the form of cards that players acquire, which can be materialized into things or abilities through a simple command of a player. And while the exact technicalities of what this involves Razor performing are never stated, it can be inferred that any card that requires an emissive ability is done so directly from the Nen of Razor himself. As a result, rather obviously, Razor is an emitter when it comes to the wonderful world of Nen, and this is further demonstrated through one of his signature Hatsu named Aura Ball. With this technique, Razor emits his aura into a red sphere and launches it at a target. These condensed balls also contain a surprising amount of devastating potential, as they have been shown capable of decimating a person's skull, as well as being able to entirely destroy a small boat. That small boat in question happened to belong to the Phantom Troop, by the way, who initially arrived on Greed Island by sailing to the location rather than coming through the faux game. And this actually gives us quite a profound indicator of Razor's strength, because immediately upon encountering him, Finks judged his power to be tremendous. And despite the fact that he had the large majority of the troop behind him, Finks reluctantly accepted Razor's expulsion from the island and claimed that they would return via the proper entrance. In doing so, Razor even laid down a slight challenge to Finks, letting him know that if he played the game long enough, then he would most certainly have the opportunity to partake in combat with him. A statement that seems to have mostly infuriated Finks before Razor used his abilities to send the entire troop to the ASEAN continent. And as mentioned before, Razor must possess a simply astonishing aura output to be able to facilitate an entire game's worth of emission mechanics, some of which perform incredibly powerful functions that would be heavily desired in the greater world. Although one possible explanation for how this may be possible is the idea of setting strict conditions and limitations on Nen abilities. Throughout the series, we've been witness to a wide array of examples of Nen users employing these strict conditions on the activation of their powers, thus increasing the potency of the ability at the cost of making it harder to perform in general. And what we see here of Razor may also be a case of that, because the power of the cards can only function within Greed Island itself, unless of course you win the game, in which case you are allowed to take a total of 3 cards of your choice into the greater world. Furthermore, the cards also have a limitation on their usage, so with this restriction noted, it becomes slightly less of a mind-boggling exercise to speculate on Razor's exact aura output. But with that said, it is still an absolute metric arse ton. However, Razor's skills do not end with his affinity for emission, as he also appears to possess quite a mastery in the area of manipulation, which is aptly demonstrated with the 14 Devil's Hatsu. This involves Razor creating 8 anthropomorphic Nen beasts with the numbers 0 to 7. Now I know what you're thinking, maybe. If he can only create 8 Nen beasts, then why is the technique called 14 Devils? And well, that's because Razor's Nen beasts are capable of fusing together to create stronger and newly numbered forms. For example, if beast 6 and 7 fuse together, then they create beast number 13, and I guess it's all very basic maths from there. In any case, no matter what the number of beasts, Razor is capable of manipulating them to perform complex tasks, and as for what kind of complex tasks those would be, well, how about playing dodgeball? Because in addition to being a game master, Razor also acts as sort of an in-game boss for Greed Island when trying to acquire the SS rank card, Plot of Beach. In this challenge, a group of players must defeat Razor and his team in 8 out of 15 sporting themed challenges, one of which being Razor's sport of choice, very exceptionally lethal dodgeball. And very notably, the only group we're aware of that has made it to this stage of the game included Gon Freaks, the son of Jing Freaks. Now this meeting had actually been set up far in advance by Jing, who had provided Gon with a memory card for Greed Island, and who had even tasked Razor to fight with his son with everything he had. Yet another example of Jing's phenomenal parenting at work. And so in the ensuing dodgeball match, Razor puts his incredible skills on display, holding back nothing against Gon and his team, which also quite notably consisted of Killua, Bisky, and Hisoka. So Razor was up against some pretty serious power himself, not that his calm demeanor would ever let that show. But being the complete tank he is, Razor and his 14 Devils Hatsu proved more than a match for this group, and Razor himself even demonstrated that he was capable of stopping a ball propelled by the preposterous power of Gon's Jajunkin technique. And during the match, Razor began to see great similarities between Gon and his father Jing, and was particularly impressed by Gon's aura output at the climax of the game. Although it should be noted that in the end, it would be Hisoka who clinched victory against Razor, as after managing to reflect Gon's attack, Hisoka used bungee gum to send the ball flying straight back towards Razor, only this time engaging the Hatsu to make the ball stick to him as well, thus forcing Razor out of bounds. I guess that's the power of both rubber and gum for you. Very versatile in any situation. Afterwards, Razor tells Gon that Jing is not on the island, as well as an abridged life story, but he also congratulates Gon on his victory, telling him that he was instructed to go all out against the boy, but that he also believes in the abilities of Gon, much as Jing had believed in him all those years ago. And that is rather sadly the last of Razor that we would see in the series, despite the fact that Greed Island was nowhere near over, and Gon still had to face off against Genthru, and even complete a quiz to clear the game. In fact, what happened to Greed Island in general is a bit of a mystery, and we're forced to assume that the game still operates, with Razor continuously taking care of its mysterious emission system. Some more fun facts about Razor. As a game master of Greed Island, Razor also has access to a special administrator card known as Eliminate. This card allows Razor to banish players who enter the island illegally to a random location on the ASEAN continent. As for why it can only banish players to that particular continent, well, that's unknown, especially because it's likely not a case of limitations of Nen by distance, as there are at least 3 continents closer to the real-world location of Greed Island than the location specified on the card. In addition to the bulk of the Phantom Troop, it is also thought that Razor used his Eliminate card to expel their leader Crollo from the island. Although for this to work, Crollo would have had to encounter Razor after the majority of the troop, as Razor states to them that it had been many years since he had last had visitors. Despite his newfound cheery demeanor, Razor is very much a no-nonsense individual and takes insubordination very, very seriously, and was even willing to kill one of the other convicts on Greed Island simply for not following his orders. Razor and his 14 devils are actually a reference to a location called Devil City in Game Battler, a fictional creation in the world of Yu Yu Hakusho, which Togashi was also the mangaka of, and quite similarly, Game Battler required a certain number of players to band together before being able to challenge the Game Master. And finally, a truly useless fact. When emitting his aura balls, Razor prefers to launch them using a volleyball spike, very much in stark contrast to how one would play dodgeball. But that pretty much does it for Razor. If you enjoyed this video and the content this channel produces in general, then please do consider donating to the NewWorldReview Patreon, because the support of all of you amazing people is what continues to make this channel possible. And if Patreon isn't quite your style, then please do leave this video a like, share, or subscribe, because it also helps support this channel an incredible amount. And if you'd like to join the fun at any time, then please do head over to my Discord server, where a wide array of shenaniganry takes place on a daily basis. And finally, please do comment with who, what, or where you'd like to see featured on the next Hunter x Hunter 101. What are your thoughts on the 7 Deadly Sins anime or manga? So I did really like the 7 Deadly Sins. It was actually a rare series that my wife brought my attention to actually, and she got me to watch the entire first season and it was great. After that I switched to the manga briefly, and I don't know, they didn't quite feel the same. I can't really tell you why because I don't remember exactly what happened that put me off. I think it was around when Ban went off on his own and things just felt weird. I should probably watch more of it now though that there's much more animated out there, because it was a fun ride, at least in the anime. Once you cover every single thing about Hunter x Hunter, and 10 years go by and we still don't get anything new about the series and manga, what would you like to focus this channel on? Interesting question. To be perfectly honest, I'm not looking that far ahead, not 10 years anyway, because I have a feeling that when we get to that point, YouTube probably won't be a great career option for me or anyone. As copyright law becomes more and more heavy-handed, I think we're going to see the decline of content like mine. I mean, as it is, we have about a 2-year time period before Article 17 is implemented in Europe, which I won't bore you with the legislation, there's plenty of videos out there if you're keen, but it may very well result in all of my videos being blocked from the European Union, because YouTube doesn't want to be liable for any legal issues within those regions. So if there was ever a positive that came with Brexit, then it might just be that, because the UK may be exempt from this. But even then, I think that the UK will either jump on board or develop its own legislation, and America will likely follow suit as well, leaving me with the very, very serious question of whether or not I try to convert these channels into me talking on camera, like most other anime commenters, or just abandon the idea of YouTube altogether. However, before then, I do hope to cover everything that Hunter x Hunter has to offer on this channel, and if we run out of content, well, then that sounds like a nice future problem to have.